Humanity's greatest secret had just been revealed. Their brains were the largest and most complex in the galaxy, a fact that stunned the arrogant Gorn scientist Sirius and sent shockwaves through the Galactic Council. In the distant future, the Council had studied the evolution and biology of member species for eons, believing their knowledge comprehensive and infallible under Sirius's guidance. That certainty shattered when a lone human explorer craft, piloted by Captain Caleb Coleman, arrived at the Council's space station unexpectedly. Tense first contact protocols ensued. Sirius scanned the human, expecting mediocrity, but the results defied belief. The human brain was an evolutionary marvel, surpassing anything the Council had seen. Its size and complexity called into question their fundamental understanding of sentient life. An emergency session was hastily convened as Coleman found himself thrust into a whirlwind of alien politics and scientific debate. Suspicions swirled, some viewing humanity as a dangerous anomaly to be contained, others seeing immense potential for insight and collaboration. But fragile peace soon gave way to hostility when Sirius discovered the human mind was not just biologically superior, but enhanced by secret technologies. Accusations of deception and espionage flew. Rival factions emerged, some calling for humanity's quarantine, others plotting to exploit their cerebral prowess. Tensions neared a breaking point. The fate of two civilizations now rested on Coleman's shoulders as he navigated treacherous political currents, struggling to convince the fractured Council of humanity's peaceful intentions while safeguarding their species' most dangerous secret. One misstep could ignite a war that would consume the galaxy. The stakes had never been higher. Coleman had to find a way to bridge the divide, or watch humanity's first foray into the stars turn into their last stand. The future itself was on the line. The fragile peace shattered as Sirius and a cohort of council members stormed into Coleman's quarters, their faces etched with suspicion and anger. Draconis, the Gorn delegate, smacked his fist on the table, his voice dripping with accusation. "Enough of your lies, human. We demand the truth about your species' mental enhancements. No more secrets." Coleman's heart raced, knowing the critical juncture had arrived. He raised his hands in a placating gesture, his voice steady despite the pressure. "Please, let me explain. Our neurotech was developed out of necessity to help us survive the rigors of deep space. It was never meant as a threat." The room erupted in chaos, council members shouting over each other. Draconis' faction called for immediate containment and study of humanity, fear and xenophobia fueling their demands. But a smaller group, swayed by Coleman's words, pushed back against isolation. In the eye of the storm, Coleman worked furiously to build bridges. He pulled Sirius aside, desperation in his eyes. "I can show you the truth of our technology. It augments our natural abilities, but it doesn't change who we are. We're still human." In Sirius's lab, Coleman submitted to a battery of scans. The neurotech laid bare. Data flowed across screens, revealing the intricate dance of biology and technology. Sirius, ever the scientist, began to see beyond the fear, to the potential. But Draconis would not be swayed. He called for an immediate vote to declare humanity a rogue species, rallying his allies with fear-mongering rhetoric. The council chamber hummed with tension as the vote was scheduled, Draconis' faction holding the majority. Coleman, his options dwindling, played his final card. "I will undergo any test, any challenge you set forth, to prove our intentions. Let humanity's abilities speak for themselves." And so, under the watchful eye of the council, Coleman was put through a gauntlet of trials, his every move broadcast live. Physical feats tested the limits of human endurance. Problem-solving tasks stretched the boundaries of ingenuity. With each challenge, Coleman felt the weight of his species' fate bearing down. As the trials intensified, Coleman had no choice but to rely more heavily on his neurotech. Enhanced reflexes saved him from certain doom. Augmented cognition unraveled puzzles that would have stymied the greatest council minds. Some watched in awe, others in growing unease. Sirius found himself transfixed, his preconceptions unraveling with each display of raw human grit, married with technological prowess. Whispers spread through the council chamber, long-held beliefs wavering. In the final trial, a scientific conundrum that had plagued the council for eons was projected before Coleman. His enhanced mind raced, processing, analyzing, until with a sudden clarity, the answer crystallized. He input the solution, and the chamber fell silent as the proof unfurled. An elegant new theorem birthed from the fusion of human intuition and neurotech precision. In that moment, the tide turned. Minds that had been closed by fear now dared to open, to see humanity's potential in a new light. A flicker of hope, of possibility, dared to take root. Hours turned to days as Coleman waited, exhausted but resolute, for the council's judgment. When Sirius finally appeared at his door, the Gorn's expression was unreadable. "The vote was close, Coleman, but your gambit paid off. Humanity will not be caged, but welcomed. Your technology will be the subject of further study, but as partners, not prisoners." Coleman let out a breath he hadn't realized he'd been holding, the magnitude of the moment washing over him. It was a victory, hard-fought and precarious, but a victory nonetheless. As he gazed out at the sprawling expanse of the galaxy, Coleman felt the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. The future was uncertain, the path ahead fraught with challenge and change. But one thing was crystal clear. Humanity would face that future head-on, their enhanced minds and indomitable spirit leading the charge into a new era of discovery and connection. The chapter of humanity's solitary journey through the stars had closed, and a new one, ripe with infinite possibility, had just begun. The Galactic Council chamber buzzed with tension as Captain Caleb Coleman stood before the assembled representatives. His palms sweat as he felt the weight of humanity's future on his shoulders. The vote had been close, but humanity was in, provisionally. "We welcome humanity to our ranks," intoned the council speaker, his tentacles waving. "But much remains to be learned about your species and your augmentations." Coleman nodded, acutely aware of the distrust still simmering beneath the surface. As the session adjourned, Sirius approached him, curiosity gleaming in his compound eyes. "Captain, I propose we study your neurotech in depth," Sirius chittered. "A joint research initiative to unlock its full potential." Days later, Coleman's boots crunched on the icy surface of a remote planet. Before him loomed a fortress-like research outpost, isolated and secure. A small team of human scientists trailed behind him, along with wary security personnel. Inside the facility, Coleman watched his breath mist in the air as Sirius led a tour. "We'll conduct our work here, away from prying eyes," the Gorn scientist explained. Weeks passed in a haze of tests and scans. Coleman felt the constant scrutiny wearing on him as suspicions lingered. During a meal break, he overheard two alien researchers whispering. "Can we trust them? What if it's all a ruse?" Coleman sighed, knowing he had to break through somehow. The next day, he approached Sirius with an idea. "I'm willing to undergo a deep mind link," Coleman said. "Let you see firsthand how our tech works." Sirius's eyes widened. "Are you certain the risks are worth it?" Coleman finished. "We need to build trust." Soon after, Coleman lay on an exam table, electrodes plastered to his skull. He took a deep breath as the link initiated. His consciousness expanded, merging with Sirius. The Gorn scientist gasped as Coleman's augmented mind unfurled before him. Neural pathways fired at impossible speeds, processing power beyond anything he'd imagined. Yet beneath it all, Sirius sensed Coleman's fundamental humanity, his hopes, fears, and dreams. As they disconnected, Sirius stumbled back. "Incredible," he breathed. "The implications—" A piercing alarm cut through the air. The outpost shook as explosions rocked the structure. Through the observation window, Coleman saw ships descending, weapons blazing. "Draconis," Sirius hissed. "His allies have come for the tech." Smoke filled the corridors as they ran. They rounded a corner to find carnage. Alien and human bodies sprawled lifeless. The lab was in flames. Trapped and desperate, Coleman locked eyes with Sirius. "The experimental neural link," he said. "It's our only chance." They connected once more, but this time was different. Their minds fused completely, transcending physical form. In that moment, Coleman perceived everything: the positions of each attacker, the outpost's systems, pathways to survival. With a thought, he activated defense turrets, targeting the invaders with surgical precision. His expanded consciousness flowed through the facility's networks, sealing bulkheads and venting atmosphere in specific sectors. When it was over, Coleman and Sirius separated, gasping. Around them lay the remnants of Draconis' forces. They'd won, but at a cost. The shared experience had shaken them both to the core. Word spread quickly of the attack and Coleman's actions. The council convened an emergency session, torn between awe and fear at the power humanity wielded. Sirius stood before them, his usual pomposity replaced by conviction. "I've seen the human mind from within," he declared. "They are not a threat, but our greatest allies. We must embrace this technology, for the good of all." The vote was contentious, but in the end, the council agreed. Humanity would be fully integrated into galactic society. As the session concluded, a council member approached Coleman. "Captain, we have a proposition," she said. "We'd like you to lead a new task force, the brightest minds from across known space, working together. With your neurotech, we can solve problems we've grappled with for eons." Coleman nodded, feeling the weight of this new responsibility. As he left the chamber, Sirius fell into step beside him. "Where do we start?" the Gorn asked, enthusiasm evident. Coleman allowed himself a small smile. The road ahead was uncertain, but for the first time, humanity wouldn't walk it alone. Coleman blinked away the spots dancing in his vision as he struggled to his feet. The outpost's emergency lights bathed the wreckage in an eerie red glow. Sparks flew from shattered consoles, and the acrid stench of burnt circuitry filled the air. "Status report," he croaked, his throat raw from screaming. Sirius emerged from behind an overturned workstation, antenna twitching. "Minimal casualties. Most of the team is accounted for, but disoriented." Coleman nodded, wincing at the pounding in his skull. He stumbled towards the observation window, bracing himself against the frame. The obsidian obelisk still towered outside, mockingly pristine amidst the devastation. Did we really see all that?" a human scientist whispered, eyes wide with shock. "The Cedars," an alien researcher muttered. "An entire civilization, gone for eons." Coleman raised a hand, silencing the chatter. "We need to secure the site. Sirius, start compiling what data we have left, and someone find Draconis." But as the hours ticked by, it became clear that Draconis and his supporters had vanished without a trace. Coleman paced the ruins of the command center, piecing together fragments of memory from their shared consciousness. "It's all gone," Sirius reported, mandibles clicking in frustration. "Whatever failsafe you activated, it wiped our systems clean." Coleman nodded grimly. "Better lost than in the wrong hands. We've only scratched the surface of what's out there, and we're not ready, not by a long shot." A priority transmission from the Galactic Council flickered to life on a cracked view screen. The speaker's tentacles writhed with agitation as he delivered the news. Draconis had been branded a rogue element, hunted across the stars. As the call ended, Coleman sagged against a console. The weight of their discovery, of the power they'd glimpsed, settled heavily on his shoulders. He gazed out at the obelisk, knowing it held secrets that could reshape the very fabric of the universe. "What now, Captain?" Sirius asked, his compound eyes unreadable. Coleman straightened, squaring his shoulders. "We rebuild, we learn, and we prepare, because this is just the beginning." The team gathered around him, human and alien alike, united by their shared experience. As they looked to the stars, Coleman knew that the real work was only just beginning. The obelisk's secrets remained locked away, but the key to unlocking them lay within their own minds, if they dared to reach for it again. Coleman's boots echoed through the empty corridors of the command ship as he made his final rounds. The faces of his crew were etched with exhaustion and sorrow. In the hangar bay, technicians worked feverishly to load the last of their supplies onto shuttles bound for the colony ships. He paused at a viewport, gazing out at the stars. The once bustling space lanes were eerily quiet now, save for the massive silhouettes of human vessels preparing for their exodus. "Captain," a voice called. Coleman turned to see Dr. Alara Chen, her lab coat rumpled in dark circles under her eyes. "The last of the neurotech data has been secured and wiped from Council systems." Coleman nodded. "And the failsafes?" "In place," Chen confirmed. "If anyone tries to access our research, it'll trigger a cascade deletion." A distant explosion rocked the ship. Coleman steadied himself against a bulkhead, his enhanced senses immediately processing tactical data. "They're making another push," he muttered. In the bridge, holographic displays flickered with real-time battle information. Coleman's mind seamlessly interfaced with the ship's systems, assessing damage reports and coordinating defensive maneuvers. "Sir," his XO reported, "the Draconis loyalists are hitting our flank. They've broken through Sector 7's defenses." Coleman's eyes hardened. He'd hoped for more time. "Initiate Protocol Omega. All ships prepare for immediate jump." As the crew scrambled to comply, Coleman's thoughts drifted to Sirius. His old friend was out there somewhere, stripped of the bond they once shared. The decision to sever that connection still burned. The ship shuddered as enemy fire found its mark. Coleman felt each impact as if it were striking his own body. Through the neural link, he sensed the fear and drive of every mind warrior under his command. "Jump drives charged, sir," the navigator announced, "awaiting your signal." Coleman took one last look at the battle unfolding around them. The Council forces were regrouping, preparing for another assault. In mere moments, humanity would vanish from known space, leaving behind only wreckage and unanswered questions. "Execute jump," Coleman ordered, his voice heavy with the weight of history. The stars blurred into streaks of light as the human fleet hurtled into the unknown. Coleman felt a profound sense of loss wash over him. They were leaving behind everything they had fought for, everything they had built. As the familiar constellations faded from view, Coleman addressed his people through the neural link. No words were necessary. He shared with them his hope for a new beginning, tempered by the bitter lessons of the past. The journey ahead was long and fraught with uncertainty, but as Coleman looked out at the sea of unfamiliar stars, he knew that humanity would forge its own path, for better or worse.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.